Hello, Salem superfans! It is Friday, it is Days of Our Lives, and oh my goodness, grab your hourglasses because the sands are shifting dramatically today. We are heading into the weekend with a cliffhanger vibe that is absolutely dripping with family tension, manipulative matriarchs, and a whodunit that's about to blow up in Julie Williams' face. First up, the main event, the battle for Thomas and Charlotte. We know Jennifer, Jack, and Chad have been trying this let's all get along for the sake of the kids routine regarding custody. It all sounded very mature, very civilized on paper. And according to the spoilers, it was actually going well. They were sitting down, acting like adults right up until little Thomas dropped a truth bomb and said, essentially, absolutely not. I do not agree with this arrangement. Okay, let's stop right here. I have to give a massive shout out to the writers for finally letting the kids have a voice. We talk so much about what's best for them, but rarely do we see them exert agency. For Thomas to stand up in that room of adults and throw a wrench into their perfect little plan. That is huge. But let's peel back the layers on Jennifer Horton Devereaux here. The spoilers say her biggest issue thing driving this entire interrogation of Chad today is his love life. Specifically, his choices in dating. Now, let's be real. Is this really about Chad's dating life? Or is this Jennifer's unresolved trauma over losing Abigail manifesting as extreme control? I personally think Jennifer is projecting massively. Look, I love Jeanne. She's a legacy character. But ever since Abigail's tragic death, she hasn't just been a grieving mother. She's become the gatekeeper of Abigail's memory. She looks at Chad, and she doesn't just see her son-in-law. She sees the man who is trying to replace her daughter. And let's be honest, Chad's track record post-Abigail hasn't exactly been stellar. He's drawn to chaos. He's drawn to women who are the polar opposite of the stability Abigail eventually represented. Enter Kat. Oh boy. Kat is the current flashpoint. Jennifer despises the idea of this woman around her grandchildren. The spoilers suggest that today, Jennifer is going to demand answers and essentially issue an ultimatum. If Chad swears to kick Kat to the curb permanently, Jennifer finally back off and revert to just being grandma. Here is my hot take. Jennifer is deluding herself. Even if Chad dumps Kat tomorrow, Jennifer will find something wrong with the next one. Because the problem isn't Kat. The problem is that nobody is Abigail. Jennifer is terrified that if Chad moves on with someone unsuitable, Abigail's legacy gets erased in those children's lives. It's a deeply human, deeply flawed psychological response. And let's not ignore the hypocrisy. Let's take a trip down memory lane. Jennifer, honey, you married Jack Devereaux when he was practically a villain. You have made some incredibly questionable romantic choices in your decades in Salem. It feels a bit rich for her to sit in judgment of Chad when her own romantic history is a roller coaster of toxicity and redemption. But that's the beauty of soap opera psychology, always judge others for the sins we are most guilty of. My theory: Thomas didn't just speak up because he's a brat. I think Thomas sees things. Kids are intuitive. I think Thomas senses the tension Kat brings, or maybe just maybe Kat isn't who she says she is, and the kid has a bad vibe that Chad is ignoring because he's blinded by loneliness. Jennifer's mother's intuition is firing on all cylinders, and she's using custody as the weapon to enforce it. This interrogation today isn't going to resolve anything. It's just going to draw the battle lines deeper. Now, let's pivot to the queen herself, Dr. Marlene Evans. The spoilers indicate a fascinating little subplot brewing. Sarah has convinced Marlene to return to work. Great, Salem needs its resident shrink. But then Marlene does something very interesting. She offers Kat her old job back. The catch: Kat is currently working for E.J. DiMera, and she's not sure she wants to leave that position. Why is Marlene doing this? On the surface, it looks like Marlene just wants a familiar face in the office. Do not believe that for a second. Marlene Evans does nothing without a deeper motive. She is playing for D-chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Marlene doesn't love the idea of Kat working for EJ. Why? Is it because she wants to protect Kat from the DiMera darkness? Please. Marlene has bigger fish to fry. I believe Marlene is actively trying to declutter EJ's life. This brings us to Belle. The spoilers ask the question, will Marlene share this news about Kat and EJ with Belle? And then it immediately dismisses it, saying, oh, it doesn't matter. Belle has no use for EJ anymore, right? She doesn't care what he does or who he does it with. Lies. Absolute lies. Let me tell you something about the Brady-Blackie DiMera dynamic. When someone in Salem says they don't care about an ex as potent as E.J. DiMera, it means they care too much. Indifference is silence. Indifference is forgetting they exist. Belle claiming she has no use for E.J. is a defense mechanism. She is still deeply wounded and deeply entangled with him emotionally. Marlene knows this. My theory is that Marlene is trying to move Kat out of E.J.'s orbit, not to help Kat, but to clear the playing field. Perhaps Marlene senses that Belle and E.J. are inevitably crashing back toward each other, and she wants to remove any potential roadblocks, or maybe, just maybe, she wants to remove the temptation so E.J. can prove himself worthy of Belle again. If Marlene tells Belle that she's trying to poach Kat from E.J.'s staff, Belle's reaction is going to tell us everything. If she rolls her eyes and changes the subject, maybe she really is done. But if she gets that little flicker in her eyelid, mixture of jealousy and curiosity, we know the shallow ship is still taking on water, but it hasn't sunk yet. Marlene is stirring the pot, and I am here for the inevitable explosion. Finally, let's talk about our resident Scooby-Doo gang, Stephanie and Alex. They have a cunning plan to catch Stephanie's stalker today. We've got Steve Patch Johnson on the case. We've got Jada at the PCPD helping out. It feels like the net is tightening. The central conflict here is the suspect list. Alex is 100% convinced it is Jeremy. He has tunnel vision on this guy. Meanwhile, Julie Williams, gatekeeper of Salem Propriety, is standing firmly beside Jeremy. She believes his claims of innocence. Oh, Julie, 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 Julie. I love you, but your history of judging character is spotty. Remember how long it took you to accept certain people into the family? And yet, sometimes, a smooth-talking handsome guy comes along and pulls the wool right over your eyes. Alex's ego is driving this investigation. He needs it to be Jeremy. He needs to be the hero who identified the threat and neutralized it to win points with Stephanie. If it turns out not to be Jeremy, Alex is going to be devastated, not just because the stalker is free, but because his alpha male intuition failed. The spoilers tease new evidence today. What will Julie do with the latest evidence? This suggests something undeniable is about to drop. Here is my wild theory on the stalker storyline. It is not Jeremy. Jeremy is the classic red herring. He's too obvious, too smarmy, too perfectly placed to be the bad guy. The show wants us to think it's him. I think the stalker is someone way closer to home. The spoiler says, is the culprit closer than anyone thinks? This is a classic trope. Alternative theory. It's someone Alex knows. Maybe someone from his past he inadvertently led to Stephanie, and now his obsession with Jeremy is blinding him to the real threat he caused. Alternative theory B, the truly chaotic option. What if it's Everett Bobby? We know he has deep psychological issues, missing time, and a fractured identity. What if one of his alters is obsessed with Stephanie, and the nice guy Everett doesn't even know he's doing it? That would be a twist that would rock Stephanie's world completely. But today, Friday, I think we are going to see Julie face a crisis of faith. The evidence is going to make Jeremy look incredibly guilty, and Julie is going to have to decide if she trusts her gut or the cold, hard facts presented by Stephanie and Alex. Seeing Julie Williams eat humble pie is always a treat, and I think that's on the menu for today. So, buckle up, fans. We've got Jennifer going full mama bear mode, Marlene manipulating the romance chessboard, and Julie about to get a reality check. It's going to be a messy Friday in Salem, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Let me know in the comments. Are you Team John or Team Chad? Is Belle really over EJ? And who is the actual stalker? Let's argue about it.